Ah, 90% of people don't know that in the real world, some people have gone to the world of ghosts and never returned. Well, let's take a look at some scary realities and mysteries that have never been explained. Many of us might think these are just fictional stories, but the truth is, some of these stories have a real foundation. Today, we're going to talk about 5 people who entered the world of ghosts and never returned. But the question is, does the world of spirits really exist? Or are these just rumors that we can never prove? Stay with me till the end of the video, because at the end, we'll find answers that you might have never imagined. The first story is about Marcus, a man who never thought he would enter the world of ghosts. One night, Marcus was alone at home, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Of course, he always heard the sound of the wind or the trees from the window at night. But this night was different. At 2 a.m., he started hearing footsteps from the floor above. The footsteps were so clear that it sounded like someone was quietly walking from one room to another. Marcus, who usually ignored these sounds, decided to stay awake that night and investigate where the sounds were coming from. When he got up and went upstairs, he saw nothing. Everything appeared completely normal, but the footsteps continued. It was as if someone was quietly walking toward the closed doors, but nothing was passing through the door. Marcus went into one of the rooms he had never even opened before, and suddenly, the door slammed shut behind him. That door never opened again. Marcus was never seen again. Even when the police arrived and searched everything, they found no trace of him. In the end, the only thing left from that night was the locked room and the footsteps. The question is, did Marcus enter the world of ghosts, or was this just a strange coincidence? After weeks of no progress, the police began further investigations, but no evidence was found to explain where Marcus had gone. Instead, rumors that spread through the town became even stranger. People said that the room Marcus had entered was actually a gateway to another world. When they examined the room again, the only thing they found was a strange note that had fallen on the ground. A note with just a few words. The door closed, I entered, I can't return. This strange note made people think even more. Could it be that Marcus entered the world of ghosts? No one could answer this question. But many said that the note was just a ghost from that other world sending a message. Others said the note was just a prank or a lie. But the main question remained. Does the world of spirits really exist? Or are these just our imaginations of something terrifying? The second story is about Laura, a young woman who lived in a small town. Laura was always alone at night, but she never thought that one night would turn into one of her greatest fears. One night, while she was sleeping in her room, she heard a strange sound from behind the window. At first, she thought it might be the wind or something that seemed normal. But the scratching sound from behind the window became so loud that it woke Laura up. The sound was like hands hitting the wall, but not the sound of breaking glass. Rather, something like soft, continuous taps. With her heart racing, Laura got up from her bed and went to the window. When she looked outside, there was nothing but darkness. For a few seconds, nothing happened, but at that moment, she heard footsteps coming from behind the window. Even though there was no one in the yard, Laura quickly shut the door and returned to her room. But as she looked behind her, she saw something strange. The trees in the yard started shaking. There was no wind or any reason to explain these movements. Laura couldn't sleep anymore. She left her room and began walking in the darkness of the night. The further she went, the more she felt like something or someone was following her. She stopped for a moment and listened. There was no other sound, but a large shadow passed right in front of her eyes. A shadow that couldn't be identified as anything. At that moment, Laura realized she would never come out of that night again. The police followed her trail, but they never found any trace of Laura. After Laura disappeared, the town started spreading strange rumors about her. Many people said that Laura had entered a world of ghosts, but no one could explain why or how it happened. When the police went to her house, they found no trace of that mysterious shadow in the yard. But something they could never explain was that when they looked at the window, they saw strange fingerprints that had recently appeared on the glass. It was as if someone from the outside had touched the window with bloodied hands. The rumors grew stronger. Some said that Laura had entered a hidden and dark world that no one could return from. Considering the strange events that had happened around her house, these stories became more and more convincing. Everyone who spoke about Laura had one common sentence: she went to another world. Some even feared to enter that neighborhood because they were afraid that what happened to Laura might happen to them too. But still, no one had figured out where Laura had gone. Did Laura really enter the world of ghosts? Or were there other events waiting for her in the darkness of that night? Now it's time for John, a man who was always in search of adventure. One night, he and his friends went to the dark and mysterious forests of the north. These forests had been known for years due to strange and unusual events. At night, they would sit by the fire and tell scary stories. But one night, John decided to go into the forest alone. Everyone was surprised by his decision because these were the very forests that were infamous for rumors of disappearances and ghosts. Without hesitation, John walked toward the forest. As the night grew darker, his friends became worried and tried to convince him to turn back. But John didn't listen. He ventured deeper, where the trees grew bigger and the darkness thicker. There was no sound of animals. The forest was completely silent. That night, nothing unusual was seen. But John felt something, a heavy pressure that seemed to be coming towards him. He couldn't go any further and decided to return to the camp. But when he got back, no one saw him, and there were no sounds. He had vanished, and he never returned. The police got involved and searched the entire forest, but no trace of John was found. However, the rumors about the forest grew even more terrifying. One of the men who had been at the camp with John that night said that at the moment when John went into the forest, a large shadow passed through the trees, a shadow that seemed much bigger than John. The man believed that this shadow was a sign of another world, and that the forest was actually a gateway to a place from which John could never return. What was interesting was that this man began having strange dreams at night, dreams where he saw John lost in the forest, staring at something like terrifying ghosts. All of this led to the rumors about the forest becoming even stronger. Some people said that John had entered another world, one from which no one could escape. People were afraid to even mention the forest. They said that anyone who stepped into that forest would never return to the world of the living. But the question remains, did John really enter the world of ghosts? Or was it just an accident? Now, let's talk about the unknown man, someone no one recognized. He was an ordinary man who never stood out in the town. He would wander the streets at night and never spoke to anyone. Perhaps many people didn't even notice him. But one night, he decided to enter a cemetery that was very famous in the town of Woodhaven. A cemetery that no one dared enter because it was said to be filled with spirits and mysterious creatures. Rumors said that anyone who entered the cemetery either disappeared or never returned. The cemetery had a terrifying history, and no one would even go near it. But the unknown man was never afraid of such things. That night, when the town was asleep, he entered the cemetery without hesitation. His steps were slow and quiet, but it seemed like each step made the silence of the night heavier. As he entered the cemetery, he felt a strange sensation, a feeling of weight, as if something was watching him from behind. But he ignored the feeling and continued slowly. However, as he moved forward, the trees around him began to move, as if something was rising from beneath the ground. Before he reached the end of the cemetery, he heard a strange sound coming from deep within. The sound of something that resembled a ghost getting closer to him. The man didn't want to be scared, but the sound kept getting closer. The other people in the neighborhood said that after the man entered the cemetery that night, no one ever heard from him again. No one could find any trace of him. The rumors in the neighborhood grew stronger. Some said the man had entered the world of ghosts and could never come back, and no one had ever entered that cemetery and returned safely. Even those who tried to enter the cemetery after that night came back with strange and terrifying stories. One of them said that when he passed through the cemetery gate, he heard a faint voice from behind him saying, "You can never escape." Well, now that you've heard all these stories, it's time to look at the truth behind these events. Many of you might think that these stories are just rumors or strange coincidences, but the reality is that many of these occurrences can be explained by scientific and psychological reasons. To begin, most of the events that happened to these people were the result of a combination of mental fears, mysterious environments, and old rumors. For example, Marcus, who lived in an old house full of frightening history, might have been influenced by hallucinations caused by environmental pressure and strange sounds he had created himself, leading him to believe he had entered the world of ghosts. In reality, these kinds of sounds and sensations can be purely constructed in people's minds. As for Laura, she may have been under the influence of psychological fears or mental pressures that night. The sounds she heard from the window could have been the result of stress and fear of the dark, not an actual ghost. And the shadow she saw might have been part of her imagination, created under the influence of fear and stress. John, who entered the eerie forests, was probably under pressure from mental hallucinations caused by the specific geographical conditions of the forest, making him feel like something was following him. Forests that are dark and mysterious like that can have a huge impact on the human mind, leading to strange hallucinations. As for the unknown man who entered the cemetery, we have to say that cemeteries always have a mysterious and eerie atmosphere. The rumors and stories about these places make people's minds create fears and images that may seem like something supernatural, but the truth is that most of these stories result from collective fears and the unknown feelings people have in such environments, not the actual presence of spirits. In the end, it's possible that none of these people actually entered the world of ghosts. Most of these events happen due to hallucinations, psychological fears, and environmental influences that took the human mind to a place it never intended to go. So, maybe the truth is that the power of the human mind is so strong that it can even change our reality without us even realizing it. Now that we've uncovered the truth behind these scary stories, you might think everything is clear. But believe me, this is just the beginning. Next time, we'll dive into stories that will challenge your very logic. Are you ready to step into a new world that might truly frighten you? Then don't miss the next video, because soon you'll see things you never thought could be real.